Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Chad. How was your week this week, Chad?
This week?
Well, both weeks. Yeah, we had Sissy come out and talk to us on the program. So
yes, she
did. We kind of skipped out on the HCTALK platform and just went with the Harvey County Talk platform and just did a little bit of a digital audio biography with Sissy. But I'm interested because I know that you had a little sabbatical and that Chad was letting the wind blow through his hair, and he was enjoying the time off from work and got to do all kinds of wonderful things with the family. So how was your vacation, Chad?
I'm not sure I had to call it a vacation, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Because when you do what I do, there's really no vacations.
Yeah.
But I did have a very fun week because I rearranged my work schedule. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, got more time off.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I worked really, really hard for about 2-3 weeks to get sort of at a place where I felt like I could be gone. And then, as is sort of the norm in this current way of doing business for us, that really just meant that I could figure out a way to shift my work hours and just kind of finish up and tie up the loose ends and then go have some fun.
Yeah, well, the Kansans kept coming. I'm a subscriber. I always encourage people to subscribe. Yeah. It's like $5 for a monthly subscription to the Kansan, and you get about 12 papers. And I didn't see any disruption in my paper reading, even though I do it digitally.
Yeah. Well, that's because I was, quote, on vacation, but I still did things like remote into the county commission meeting and whatever else I had to do to just kind of keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good, that's good. So, I'm interested. I told you that I wanted to hear the adventures of Chad. I saw that you went digital with some of that, Chad. Yeah,
I launched we'll call it a multimedia series. I guess that's what we can call it, right?
Yeah.
And I did that because my vacation turned into a staycation. And sometimes those things happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can plan and plan and plan and plan, and you can do everything you need to do, and you can pay everything that you can prepay, which we did too. And then all of a sudden somebody gets sick or hurt or both. Yeah. And then it's like, well, I guess we're not going to be making that 12-hour drive.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of what happened to us. And, so we had planned for a week in another state. Namely, the big purpose there was for my wife to be able to visit her mother. With the economics of everything, and because mom-in-law lives in a really highly touristy area, prices fluctuate on things a lot, and we are entering the most expensive part of the year. So we may have kind of blown our opportunity to go see her for this year. I'm working on the finances to make sure that maybe we can, because, it's something that's got to happen.
It's important.
But, we got down to that time, and it was like, we really, if we're going to go, we need to pack. And, you're looking at the kids going, well, that one, this is what's going on with this one, and this is what's going on with that one. And I just don't feel comfortable traveling. I think maybe we need to go to doctors tomorrow morning. And so that's what we did.
Yeah.
And then we just said, enough's enough. We're just going to stay home. Yeah. So the vacation turned into a staycation. Yeah. And the advice that I am going to give to parents of the children of Kansas is you can prepare for that very well if you download the Sunflower Summer app. Straight up, because the moment that our vacation turned into a staycation, we went through that thing and said, here's some things I think we can do this week.
Yeah.
And after we went and talked to doctors about what was going on with everybody in our family, they said, yeah, you could probably do some of those things. You're going to really take it easy, but so there it is.
Yeah.
So vacation turned into staycation, and because I was already basically going to have to work every single day of my so-called vacation, I said, you know what, we're going to turn this whole thing into a project.
Yeah.
So it launched on thekansan.com last week on Saturday. I've got part 2 coming this particular Saturday, and I launched what's called the Sunflower Summer Adventures, and it's just where my family has chosen to go using the Sunflower Summer app.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something, and I don't want to stop you there because I'm really interested in knowing where you went and what you did. I saw some of it that you had put out on social media, and I thought, that's actually pretty interesting. Some of those places I've known about, had the opportunity to go,
Sure.
right? But I just never went. And I'll tell you something that came to mind when we're talking about vacations and staycations and whatnot. One of the most memorable vacations that I ever had growing up was when my parents decided we're going to go see Mount Rushmore. So we went to Mount Rushmore, and I couldn't tell you how many hours away that was and how much driving and misery
From here,
I had
it's
to
8.
go. Okay. Boy, it seemed like a 25, 30-hour
Yeah.
drive as a child.
Yeah.
But anywho, so we're there, and all of a sudden, my dad's appendix ruptures. And he's in a hospital in Rapid City. And it turned into a complete and absolute disaster. Not to say that all vacations in that way, but when you think about it, we did a lot of traveling like a state of way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go to Missouri, or we'd go to Oklahoma, or I don't recall ever going to Nebraska. I'm sure there's some wonderful things in Nebraska for people to see and enjoy. We've been to Colorado countless times, saw the mines and things like that, and just all that those places have to offer, which is wonderful. But one thing that I did find kind of interesting was, well, when I was a kid, we didn't go travel around Kansas very much.
Sure.
And as I'm older and I have kids, I'm a big fan of Kansas. Always have been a fan of Kansas. I've told people on multiple occasions, there's so much to do in Kansas that if, try doing that.
Sure.
Before you get out of Dodge. And not only that, but about anywhere in Kansas could potentially be a day trip too.
Yes.
So if you have a posse of kids like I do, and you're talking about multiple hotel rooms and transportation that's just not enjoyable. I'm just going to say it, Chad. Let's just be real here. Let's be real here. You throw a bunch of kids and adults in a car and you try to find a place to go together. There's always hiccups along the way. And like you said, when you're dealing with health or anything like that, you can make plans, invest all this stuff to go someplace that may be states away. And then it only takes one thing happening in any one of those individuals' lives before or during that derails everything. Mm-hmm. There were some places that you went that I've never been before. See, I'm not one to go, I don't know how many hundreds of feet under the ground, so I don't want to do a spoiler alert.
650.
Yeah, so I have never actually toured the salt mines and have no desire, but I sure enjoyed partaking in your adventure.
Sure.
So give me a rundown of some of the things that you did, starting with the salt mine.
We'll start with the salt mine, and the reason that I think it's good to start with the salt mine is right here, right now, is that because of the cost involved there, and that's a common thread with pretty much every place that we've gone. Because please remember, right? So if we're talking about the Kansas Aviation Museum, which is a place that we went, for me to go to the Kansas Aviation Museum by myself on a lunch break or on a weekend or whatever, it's going to be like $10, no big deal. But I got a family of 5.
Right.
And so all of those costs are multiplied. Salt mine in museum is another great example. If I were a single dude and, thinking, hey, I think that might be worth the $38 ticket to check it out, that's one thing. But I got a family of 5.
Yeah.
And so, when the app came out and we started going through it, the first thing that goes through it that happens is that I go through it. I want to see who's on it. And the number of places has grown every single year. And this year we're well over 200. I'm going to say that again. This year there's well over 200 locations.
200 places you can go in Kansas for a day trip. To be honest, that's what we're talking about.
You bet.
Yes.
You bet. So it's just massive. And, I saw Stradica on there. I was like, dude, I think we should really consider doing this. And
never been before.
Said something to the wife, and she's like, oh yeah, we have to do that. We have to do that. Because there is only one salt mine in the United States that is open to the public to see. Right, and that's in Hutchinson.
Hutchinson, Kansas,
and so
USA.
It's like $38. Okay. So, my family, I'm a cheap jerk. I mean, I really am. There is no way my family would be able to go to the Salt Mine Museum because you're asking me to throw down nearly $200 for tickets.
Yeah.
And that's just tickets to get in there, go on a couple of tram rides, and go home. That is, to me, a lot of money.
Yeah.
May not be a lot of money to some other folks, but to me it is. And the Sunflower Summer app is targeted towards kids. You have to have kids to participate in this. Kids that go to school in Kansas, okay? And the reason that's an important thing of note, depending on who you ask and depending on what numbers you're looking at, the Newton School District is upwards 60% free and reduced lunch.
Yeah.
So 60% of the school district, the parents would be looking at tickets to go to Stradica and going, I don't know if I can swing $200. I don't know if I can swing 100. I just don't know if I can do it. Well, good news is you don't have to. All you got to do is download the app.
Well, okay, so explain this to me because as informed as I try to be, Chad, I'm picking up something you're saying that I think the audience might want to hear about. Living in Newton, little old Newton, Kansas here. If you download this app, and it's called the what now?
Sunflower Summer.
Okay. And so when you do this, obviously your children, your children what? Get some kind of
straight
pass
up.
Or
no, yeah,
what
your kids are your ticket. That's what it is.
Okay.
All right. So you download the app, you have to put in your name, your spouse's name, and the children that you care for.
Okay.
Right? And this is you as grandparents, if you are custodial grandparents, it works for you too.
Okay.
Okay, but your kids are quote unquote your ticket. Once you've downloaded the app, put in all the information. Okay, then you can scroll through and you can take a look at what's available. So we've been talking about Stradica. Let's talk Stradica. So you're scrolling through the app and you see Stradica and you're like, hey, I think that would be kind of nifty. First and foremost, you got an elevator ride that takes you 650 feet below ground. Yeah. Then you get to see the only salt mine in the country that is open to you. Okay. And that salt mine has been around since, was it 38 or something like that? I mean, it's been around for a long time. There's 200 miles of tunnels down there. Wow. You don't want to get lost, right? But there's 200 miles of tunnel down there. And you want somebody to take you through some of those tunnels and see what it looks like when, after they're done. Yeah. Right. And then you want to see, some movie memorabilia because they've turned it all into storage.
Yeah.
The closed parts of the mine, it's storage.
Isn't that interesting?
So you want to see some of the weapons that they used during Men in Black 2. Yeah, you can see that. You want to see an original Superman costume.
Really?
From one of the television shows. Yeah, you can see that. Right now they've also got a Batman costume from the movies. And it is Batman. They've got a costume from one of the Charlie's Angels movies. I mean, you want to see those things? I mean, that's cool stuff.
So it's like
right?
A museum down there.
Normally, it's going to cost you $38. But if you have the Sunflower Summer app and you take your kids with you, you can walk in there. And I would advise calling ahead for Stradica. But you walk in there and you pull up your phone and you go, okay, here's my Sunflower Summer app. I want you to take a look. That's the ID. All of us are going to go. And then you go, dink, tickets. And it starts a timer and she just starts typing away. And then she hands you tickets. You do not pay for that.
What?
Okay, so I know that you're a member of the Sedgwick County Zoo.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
And you enjoy that. But even as a member of the Sedgwick County Zoo, who is prepaid, you can still go some Saturday on the app free.
Okay.
Okay. What the app does is it pays for your admission. Okay. So in terms of the Sedgwick County Zoo, as you know, they got a boat ride, train ride, Stingray Cove. You can feed the giraffe. These are things that they charge $5 a person to do.
Yeah.
Those aren't covered under the app.
Okay. It's extras.
The extras.
Yeah.
In terms of Strataca, they also have the Salt City Safari, which is a 1-hour tour that goes through some of the oldest parts of the mine, where you can see things like, and maybe this doesn't excite people, but I thought this was cool. You can see a 70-year-old hydraulic fluid spill that is still wet. Think about that. It's never dried out. You can see all of that stuff, and you can pick up these, we picked up some pretty huge pieces of salt. I mean, we're not talking table salt here, guy.
Yeah.
We're talking, this is in its purest form. And the Salt City Safari is not included, because if you go down there, when you go to Strataca, you're going to find out there's 2 ticket levels, right? One that gives you access to the museum, which will take you an hour and a half, 2 hours to get through. What they call the dark ride, and then a train ride. And, that's probably about 3 hours worth of entertainment right there.
Yeah.
Then there's another ticket that contains that safari thing, which is a 1-hour tour through the older parts of the mine. That one is $13 more. Right?
Okay.
So as a Sunflower Summer app user, you can stand there and go, do you really think this is going to be worth $13 a piece? Which for us is $70.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
if everybody's having a good time,
and straight up, I was like, well, we're not traveling to Minnesota. I'm going to spend a little bit of that vacation budget this week. That's where all this money is going to come from.
Yeah.
It's why I didn't blink an eye when we walked into a 1950s diner in Wichita and sat down, and everybody's like, okay, what can I order? And I'm like, whatever you want. Well, can I get a shake too? Because the shakes are like $3 a piece, $4 a piece.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Because it was just like, we're going to spend some of our vacation money. So, did all that. Another place we went was the Kansas Aviation Museum.
Okay.
Okay. And that's right next to McConnell Air Force Base.
Very cool.
And, for me personally, I would gladly spend the $10 a ticket to go back from just for me, and go back up into the air control tower from the 1938 airport and just watch the planes coming and going from McConnell. That's cool. Just cool.
That's cool.
The kids found other things that they enjoyed. Flight simulators. My daughter wiped out half a city because she really couldn't figure out how to fly the passenger airliner that was loaded into the flight simulator.
Yeah.
My son, my oldest son, really loved flying like this jet fighter, in the flight simulator. My youngest was in a little 2-seat trainer from World War II in the flight simulator. They absolutely loved that, and loved being able to go into a couple of airplanes. There's like a Boeing 737 that's sitting down there that is just sitting open, and you want to know what it's like to crawl in and out of the right seat for the pilot. Do it.
I must be living under a rock, Chad, because not that I didn't know these places existed, but just I like history and I like adventure and whatnot. Of course, I don't like heights really, and I don't like depths necessarily, or whatever the case may be. But I've never stepped foot inside of a plane myself, so that would be interesting to go in there. Maybe it would either ease my fears of flight, or it would cause them to be worse. I'm not sure. I haven't been there, can't say. But so the interesting thing that I think is that I'm catching on to here is that not only is this economical for families, but yet this is, and this, both places you've mentioned so far have a tremendous amount of history.
Oh, yes.
And so this is all around learning experience for the kiddos.
And that's where all this started with the Sunflower Summer.
Okay.
That straight up. So you want some history? Here's some history. About 3-4 years ago, the Kansas Department of Education got just a money dump of COVID funds, and it was quite literally a couple people walking around their office going, "We don't know what to do with this." And they came up with this as they were saying, one of the struggles we have here is all our schools are closed for COVID.
Yeah.
What are we gonna, what are we doing here? And the idea was, the root of this idea is schools are closed, and then we've got people who are moving to online education the following year. How do we get field trips to these kids?
Okay.
Because schools are not going to be providing it. How do we do that? They created this app.
Somebody had some forward thinking.
Yeah,
there,
that's where the funding started.
Yeah.
That's where the app came from.
Yeah.
And so when, that very first year, when you looked through it, it was a lot of the places that kids would be going on field trips. The health museum in Halstead.
That's on there too?
Yeah.
I've been there, but it was a field trip.
No, it's on there.
Yeah. And it was very informational. I loved it.
And it's been there every year.
Yeah.
But that's like that classic place. I mean, every parent of a student in Newton knows 5th grade, 6th grade, they go down to Halstead.
Dare I say Harvey County?
Well, yeah. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
That's on there. Kaufman Museum is on there. Okay,
which is an exceptional place in and of itself.
Yes.
Been there multiple times.
These are places that people would be going for field trips. Yeah. Cowtown, Wichita. Yeah.
Awesome. I've been there. Yeah, anything on the ground, Chad.
Museum of World Treasures. Right? I mean, if your kid...
Tell me, Museum of World Treasures. Haven't heard of it.
It's in Wichita.
What's it got there?
All kinds of stuff from all periods of history.
Where's it at? Where's it located at?
It's in Old Town.
See, I swear I must be living under a rock. Okay. I'm not a big vacationer,
But that's where it came from. And then the funding ran out, and the legislature stepped in and said, "You know what? This is a really cool thing." And I really want to give some credit to the legislature for saying this is a really cool thing. Yeah. And I don't think this is something we should probably let die right now. Yeah. And so they appropriated some money, and they turned to the Kansas Tourism. I don't know if they call them a board or an association, but they called the Kansas they turned to Kansas Tourism and said, "You're taking this over." It wasn't will you. It's just, you're taking this over. Here's the funding. You're taking this over. That's when this thing grew to 240. It went from 70 to 150. Now we're up to 240 or something to that effect.
Of all people saying, bring your kids here.
Right. And the reason the funding is important is that, and I found this out from the Historical Society downtown in Newton, that when you take your kids and check in and do and you go through it, the place that you're going, they can report back to Kansas Tourism, and Kansas Tourism will reimburse them. I don't know if it's 100%. I doubt it's 100%, but they will reimburse them for those admissions. That's why the funding mechanism is important, because when you're looking at a place like, Harvey County Historical Society, that's a nonprofit organization, and and everything is razor thin for them. Yes, so that reimbursement is huge for them. Yeah. It's what allows them to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, the first time we really used this thing was a year ago, my family. And it's a story I love because I don't remember all of the circumstances around it, but I can tell you that we were not, as a family, we were not having a good Saturday morning. We just were not. And
only you, Chad. Only you don't. I mean, my life is perfect in every way. My kids are totally obedient. We never have any issues at all.
And it was at a point because, you know, we had talked about going and checking out Sam's Club and for a while and trying to, you know, evaluate whether it would be worth the money and the time and the effort and all of that for us. And we had talked about that. And then I got this email. I don't think it was a Groupon, but it was something similar that it was like, hey, you can join this weekend and it's only going to cost you $25. I was like, you know what? Enough of this. Let's do this. Yeah. And so I said, let's go on Saturday. And then Saturday morning was kind of rough. And, you know, it was at a point where my wife was looking at me, it's like, why are we even going anywhere? Why are we even going anywhere? And I was just like, you know what? I've had it. Everybody get your butts in the car. I mean,
because sometimes to change the scenery goes a long way, and usually a lot of that, it comes out of boredom.
We get in the car and we're starting to, and it was, I think it was right before we actually got in the car. I was like, I'm frustrated, and we're gonna upset the apple cart here. We got in the car and started our drive towards Wichita. And I said, and I think we had some kind of an appointment somewhere too. I said, you know, we've got some time. We're going to try this Sunflower Summer app out and just to see how it works. And my wife looked at me and she goes, okay. And I said, I want you guys to understand the promise that's been made here is that we're going to be able to go and do some things like, for example, the Sedgwick County Zoo, which every one of you guys has been begging us to go to. And we can't afford to do.
Yeah.
And I want to test this thing out and see if it actually does what it says it does. And my wife, rightfully so, said, well, we shouldn't go to the zoo if we only have about an hour. I'm like, I know. Well, where are we going to go? I don't know.
But we got options.
And so we got to a stop sign, and I'm scrolling. I'm like, yep, that's what we're going to do. And the whole car, everybody's like, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? And it wasn't that excited, I can't wait to find out. It was more, I mean, because we had a rough morning. Yeah. There was more anger involved here than anything else. And I said, we're going to go to Botanica. And the groans and all of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I said, let me make this very clear, people. I want to test this out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I would much rather be standing at the ticket window of a place that everybody here says they don't really want to go to and find out that it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, than to be standing at the front gates of the zoo that I know everybody wants to go to and going, well, I guess we're just not going to do this.
Let me stop you there, Chad. I'd like to tell you that you are a wise man.
I try to be. So we, you know, and we even had troubles finding Botanica, right?
Yeah.
You know, my GPS
was
a little
bit
malfunctioning and all of that. So we get to Botanica and I walk in there and there's a docent that's standing right there and she's like, you're planning to use the Sunflower Summer app? Because I got my phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I think we're in the right place. And so here we go, right? And I'm like, well, yes. And she says, well, pull it up. Let's take a look. And I pull it up. She goes, so are all 5 of your family here? And I said, of course. It goes, oh, you're Chad. So are you Mary? Yeah. Which one of you is Kinnick? Which one of you is Elizabeth? Which one of you is Naaman? And she's like, okay, this is what we do. Ding, 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 ding. And we push get tickets.
And there they are.
And the timer pops up. And I think I made a mention that we had never done anything like this before, right? Yeah. And the timer pops up and she looks at me and she goes, go enjoy the gardens.
So it'll track how long you spend there? Is that what it
gives you? It gives you like a 12-hour window.
Okay.
Right? It's basically a countdown until the place closes for the day.
Okay.
Right? And so I was like, "Is this easy?" And then she looked at me and she goes, "Yeah, it really is this easy. Just enjoy the gardens." And I'm telling you, I had to drag people out of there kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
Okay? All of that anger, all of that frustration, all of the tension, all of it, all of that bad day came to an immediate halt, almost immediate, when we were standing out there looking at the koi fish.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been there.
Yeah.
That is one place I have been. I've been on like their Halloween walk thing they got. They do like a Halloween thing, and there's all kinds of pumpkins that are painted and stuff like that. That's something they do. But at different times of year, they have walks that you can go through. Christmas time and all that stuff. And I really enjoy that place. I mean, I don't know if it's just the atmosphere or what is it, but it's hard to go to a place like that in a mood and then not be able to walk around a little bit and enjoy really ultimately the beauty that's there and the creativity that's there and just soak it up. And usually the energy is good, right? So I'm sure you can go through it just angry about the day, and you're not going to change that about some people, or maybe it's too hot or whatever. But even then, there's tremendous amount of shade. So, like, I'm a fan of that place, and I really like to go to that. And then they always have like little activities that are going on and whatnot, and beautiful place. So if you haven't been, folks, I mean, take your kids. It really is a place that kids can go, that should go, and then that they would enjoy it. It's not just for us old fogies.
And an important part of that story comes, a few weeks later when, and I don't remember which kid it was, we were sitting at the dinner table and they're like, "Could we get our family pictures taken at Botanica this year?"
That'd be cool.
And my response was, well, it's something we can look at, but the Sunflower Summer app only gives us one visit a year to each of the places. Maybe we can do that next year.
Yeah.
And they're okay with that, right? And so likewise, an important part of this entire story, which I don't know if I'll write a wrap. I think I'm going to write a wrap-up story at the end of the summer, and I don't know how many stories I'm going to do. I do know that I've got 4 videos done that are on my YouTube channel, and that I'm going to write about each one of those, okay? And then we are going someplace this weekend for Father's Day on the app. Straight up, dude. I don't know about your family, but at my family, it's kind of like this. Well, what do you want for Father's Day? And you just kind of sit there and go, okay, what gift am I going to pay for to give myself?
Yeah, right. I always ask for no whining, crying, fighting.
So I was like, the last time I got asked, I says, there's a place down in Wichita I haven't gone yet. I really kind of like to go, and it's on the app. So what do you say we do that on Saturday for Father's Day? The whole family's like, yeah, sure, let's do that. Okay. So, that's the plan. So we will do that. But the thing that I want people to understand is that by the time we have done that on Saturday, we will have gone to 5 different places, and we will have saved more than, are you ready for this number?
I am.
$400 on tickets. Again, this is a family of 5, folks. Yeah. I mean, everything is more expensive because you're trying to pull 5 people through.
Yeah.
And it's.
Is this for anybody, Chad? You don't have to be on free and reduced lunches to do this. No. You don't have to. You just. If you have got kids
going to school in Kansas, it's for you. Let me say that. If you got kids going to school in Kansas, and by the way, homeschool is cool too.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, if you got kids whose residence is Kansas, it's for you. I mean, seriously. So, this family of 5 is going to we've saved a ton of money already. We're not done yet. I mean,
does this include the state fair and stuff? Is there a time when you can take your kids to the state fair?
The state fair is not on it.
Dang it.
there's a couple of, let's say, limited day opportunities. We'll call it that. Now, because of everything that's been going on in the Arena Football League this year, I don't know the status of the Salina Liberty game that is in the app.
Okay.
But it's in there. Okay. Now, I personally, if I'm going to watch Arena Football, I'm probably going to go to Wichita and I'm going to pay. But I did think about running up to Salina, especially, I mean, the first thing I did to check was to see if Wichita was playing up there on that day.
Yeah.
They're not. So, that's neither here nor there. The Wichita Wind Surge is in there. Okay. So again, let's talk. When it's the importance of the Wichita Wind Surge being in there is, I think an adult ticket this year is like $17 for a game. No big deal if it's just me.
Yeah.
Granted, for baseball, that's probably more than I'm going to pay.
Yeah. Especially when you got the Newton Rebels.
Well, yes.
I mean, teach their own, but
Rebs are $5.
Yes, you can get some local baseball that's high
right.
impact and real good around here.
And with the Newton Rebels incorporating themselves and becoming a 501c3, I'm going to suggest to that board that they take a look at finding out how and if they can end up in the Sunflower Summer app. I can't imagine it's impossible to do that. And if it is possible, I think they should. And I think they should do it for every game.
Yeah.
Again,
bring your kids to a game.
Each individual,
that's not a bad idea, Chad.
Each individual family can only go once on the app.
Yeah, but still, you get to go to a baseball game. I mean, even then, a local baseball game.
Right.
If somebody's from Hutch and Hutchinson's playing the Rebels, then the people from Hutchinson could come over.
Sure.
And they could watch, their team play an away game in Newton, and then, of course, be not pay anything, but then the Rebels be reimbursed. I don't know if that's how that works.
No, that's how it works.
Okay.
The Rebels would get reimbursed at least a portion of the ticket cost.
Okay.
So, but anyway, the Wind Surge is $17 for an adult, but it's also, you also got to pay for every kid, and I don't know what their kid rate is. So if you got a family of 5, that ticket fee is gonna get up there real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. What the Wind Surge apparently understands, at least for that one day, is what I hope a lot of these places understand as well. And it's this. When we went to the zoo, we went and we got our free tickets. And my wife said, are we going to do any of the other stuff? Because I really want to see Stingray Cove. And I looked right at her and I said, this is the day to do that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay? Because tickets alone for us on any given day as a family of 5 is $120.
Yeah.
And again, I don't like spending money. So if I've thrown down $120 on tickets just to get in the door, the likelihood that I'll be willing to spend another $20 to go into Stingray Cove, because they have the 5-pack, or ride the train or ride the boat, is pretty low.
And speaking of Sedgwick County,
so on that day, we did all those things.
Yeah, all the extras.
Almost all the extras.
Yeah. And speaking of the Sedgwick County Zoo, I'm sure people are aware of this, but this is something that I've always done, which is get the family pass for a year. By the time you take yourself and your kids twice, you've already went over the amount, generally speaking, most of the time, of what it would cost for a yearly pass.
Right.
And you can go, multiple times a week if you want to. I do not believe, and I might not have read the fine print, but I do not believe that there's a limit to how many times you can go with Family Pass.
The only thing I'm going to say about that is this, Lance. If you're going to spend that money, you make sure that you are committed to making use of it.
Yeah.
Okay? Several years ago, I caught a really great deal for a different zoo in our area. And I bought passes, season passes. And just because of the nature of our lives, we never went. Not one time. So if you're going to do it, make sure that you're actually committed to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes it's not getting the cart before the horse. It's, well, if I didn't have a family pass and I knew the cost, then I might be less likely to go. But now that I paid the money, well, I'm going to get every penny out of that I can get, Chad.
That's right. And the other thing that I'll say about that is this: if you're looking at stuff in the area and you're thinking that this is something that you might want to do, and maybe you want to go back and you want to go back repeatedly, still download the app.
Yeah.
Make your first visit with it. In all honesty, download the app, make your first visit with it. Okay? Not all of them do, but at least one of the 4 places that we went last week, when we used our app and got in there, the docent/ticket taker looked right at me, and I know why she did, because she knows how much I love what was in that museum. I wasn't making a secret of it when I walked in. Looked right at me and said, and we, for Sunflower Summer app users, we will give you a membership to this place for half price today.
So when you show up, okay, I got you.
Enjoy yourself.
I got you.
If you like it and you think you want a membership, come see me, and we'll write it up, and it'll be half price. Wow. And that would have allowed me to visit as often as I wanted for a year.
Yeah.
Right? And yes, it's more savings.
Yeah.
So, like I say, not all of them do that, but some do. And so that's just another one of those reasons that I would say use the app first. Seriously, do it first. Because you're going to know by the end of it whether or not you're going to want to go back.
Yeah. And I might be living under a rock, but like what we're talking about here, I guess I'm surprised that, not to say this is the first time I've heard about the Sunflower app, because it might not have been, but nobody ever stepped into my life and said, hey, you got a ton of kids, and I know that it would get expensive to go around and do all this stuff. Were you aware that there is a Sunflower app, and that this allows you and affords you the things that you're describing here today to me, Chad? I mean, I'm wondering, is this like the best kept secret for Kansas families, or
I mean, think it is.
What is it?
And when we as Cherry Road Media decided we were going to do a travel guide for the state of Kansas, there were 2 things that I said I have to write about. When they pitched that, each one of us, of the writers, and there were 14 of us, were going to be responsible for putting together 3 pieces. And they said, we want you to write about something in your area, but we don't want you to limit yourself to that. And I just kind of looked at the project and went, okay. And I was asking, I didn't get much more direction than that. Write about something that's in your area, but don't limit yourself to that. So, since I was the one that had to make that decision, here's what I wrote about. I wrote about traveling on Amtrak. I wrote about each station in Kansas, and then sort of where you can go outside, what the gateways are, right? Mm-hmm. So
where you stop.
Yeah.
And get out.
You want to go to a Oklahoma City Thunder game. You're gonna want to get on the Southwest Chief. You're going to stop in Newton. You're going to get on the bus, the B line, and head to Oklahoma City. I mean, that's kind of what I wrote about.
Yeah.
All right. The other thing that I said that I wanted to write about was something really unique for the city of Newton. Well, what is it? And honestly, Newton's got, and Harvey County's got, a lot of really cool and unique things that we could write about.
Yeah.
Because of the timing of this whole thing, I wrote about the Mexican American tournament.
Very cool. Yes.
You know, we're fixing,
Yes.
that is the oldest.
Coming up real soon.
Yep, it's the oldest continuously running tournament of its kind
Yeah.
in the country.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I said, you know, let's highlight this. What the heck? And then I'm sitting there going, I need a third story. And I'm trying to decide what that third story is going to be, right? So is it, you know, because I want it to have some shelf life, right?
Yeah.
So the Mexam has some shelf life because the thing came out in May. But we're also telling you the Mexam is that weekend every year.
Yeah. Yeah. For what? How long
Right.
now?
If you pick this magazine up in December and you're looking and you're like, the Mexam tournament, well, that was July. Oh, they're going to have it again next July.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for. That's why, and straight up, that is why I didn't grab the U.S. Adaptive Open.
Yeah.
To me, that's like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But it's only here once. So having that in that magazine does not give it a prolonged shelf life. The shelf life is July. After July, there's nothing there for you. So that's why. So then I was looking at it and I'm going, okay, so I could write about the working teen house. I could write about,
Which is cool. I was just going to mention that.
it's like all these things. And my head went, I'll bet money that there's not another editor out there who is going to write about the Sunflower Summer app, which should have appeal to every family in Kansas.
Yeah.
So that's how that decision got made. And for those of, you know, because we target Harvey County, you know, that thing, let me give you a list of places that I have put into my quote trip planner. All right. Field Station Dinosaurs in Derby.
Okay.
There's also a water park in Derby that my
I've
kids
heard, yes.
desperately want to go to.
That would be fun.
The Wichita Wind Surge, even though I'm probably going to end up working that weekend. The Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad Association.
You can go to that? You can do that on there? See, I see those stuff coming up. See, I'm an administrator on some of these groups, and they requested to join so they could advertise in our community locally. And I thought, man, that looks really interesting and I think would be rather enjoyable.
The Cosmosphere down Hutch.
Yep, that's an awesome place.
Yes.
That's a really awesome place.
We went there. Actually, we went there on Smithsonian Day, but that it was hot. We hot listed it to go back. The Kansas Aviation Museum in Wichita, which we've already talked about. Coffin Museum, the Midwest Dream Car Collection. That's the only thing on my list here. Well, I can't say that, but that's about the only thing on my list here that's more than about 30 minutes away.
How about Topeka? I mean, I know a lot of kids
You bet.
go to Topeka.
There's a whole bunch of stuff in Topeka.
State capital?
I don't know.
Oh man,
Because
surely.
I haven't looked at Topeka real close. But you know, and there is stuff in here that you don't have to pay for anyway, right? One thing that we have not talked about was the Midwest Dream Car Collection in Manhattan. We went there. Absolutely amazing, really cool, super incredible. I posted to my personal Facebook page a video, showed about 4 cars. And those 4 cars, manufacturer retail price was $1.7 million. I mean, where do you see this stuff?
Yeah. Well,
Right?
obviously, here in Manhattan, Kansas.
Where do you get to see an actual Hudson Hornet? Manhattan, Kansas.
See, that's cool.
And you know, my kids are entering their teenage years, but that doesn't mean that they're too old to go, Dad, that's Doug Hudson from the Cars movie.
Yeah. Yeah, because that cars, I have to admit, took the world by storm, my man.
So, you know, there's another car museum on our list, and that's the Garage in Salina, right? Wichita Botanica, we're planning to go back. Sedgwick County Zoo, Tanganyika Wildlife Park in Goddard.
Yeah.
That's another one of those things, man. For me, myself, just to drive down there and go, no big deal. But I got a family of 5.
Yeah.
And that price goes through and up pretty quick.
And then you got meals, and then you got everything else to boot.
One that my daughter put in here is the Geneseo City Museum.
You ever been there?
No.
Oh, it's interesting. You'll love that.
So-
You'll love that. I'm not going to tell you about
Well,
that.
there's
but
like
it
some
is
UFO stuff in there.
It's
and
a
whatever
dot
else,
on the
and-
highway. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. There's some pretty cool stuff there. It's when you drive up there, you'll be like, and then it'll be way more than what you ever thought it was when you walked up to it.
So, bottom line, if your vacation's going to turn into a staycation, or you have a Saturday where you're just desperate to get all of your brood out of the house and doing something different because you all got cabin fever, you've all been inside because it's been 100 degrees all week and your patience is fried and tested, this thing will let you do that. And, there's all kinds of... So you asked Topeka, the Combat Air Museum, the Evil Knievel Museum, the Kansas Children's Discovery Center, and yes, the Kansas State's Capitol.
Yeah.
Kaw River State Park, the Topeka Zoo, the Ritchie House. I didn't even know what the Ritchie House is.
Sounds like a plan to me.
I mean,
The Ritchie House?
yeah.
I don't know.
So, when we went to Manhattan,
Somebody will be like, I know what the Ritchie House is. I've been there. I'm an avid goer.
when we went to Manhattan, the car museum was not the only thing we could have done there.
Yeah.
And we didn't spend all day in the car museum. I felt like I had to get back because things were just... I started getting some text messages and that suggested things were not going well at work with some of the background work that needs to happen because there's a lot of sausage that gets made before you get your newspaper.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I think I just need to get back. And so that's what we did. I mean, we went to the museum, we had lunch, and then we came home.
Yeah.
Now, the nice thing is that the drive up there and back is along Highway 77. And, just kind of let's just say a small sampler of the Flint Hills as you're going through there. So it was really pretty.
Which is another cool thing.
Yeah, it was really pretty. And a couple of my kids were just like, wow.
Yeah.
I thought Kansas was flat. No, we're not. So there was a lot there.
Like actually when you're going through Kansas and you hit our region, it is flat. It is very flat, and you can tell how flat it is. But when you go west, especially northwest, it's anything but that. People that are riding on I-70 think that's the case, but there is some major north and south valleys that stretch east and west all the way across the Northwest, and there's canyons and New Jerusalem's out there and Castle Rock's out there.
New Jerusalem's in the Sunflower Summer Amp, by the way.
See, I mean, yeah. And then there's Monument Rocks. There's Scott County Lake, which I hear is beautiful. There is, there's all kinds of lakes up in the north part of Kansas, along I-70. I mean, a little bit off or a little bit south, but just amazing things that are all here in Kansas. And I tell you, Chad, I was going to ask, and we are running short on time, so probably won't get into it, but I was going to ask you what one of the most memorable places that you went in Kansas for a vacation at some point in time in your life, and I'll just throw mine out there. The Eisenhower Museum. For some reason, it just settled with me when I was a kid. I'm a history person. Obviously government. I think one of the greatest presidents of all time is Eisenhower. Given the time, right? I'm sure anybody could be critical about things that were taking place in that, that time frame or whatever. But I mean, the man that led everyone against the Nazis, defeated the Nazis, became president, all started in Abilene, Kansas.
Yep.
Of all things. But so I'll throw that one at you. What's your most memorable thing? And then Chad, just I really don't have anything as the last word. The only thing I can say is just to be totally honest, because of the age range in our kids, it's very difficult to get everybody on board to go and do something that's enjoyable. So when you want to go and do something that may be enjoyable to somebody that's older, it's not a fair expectation for the younger ones to be as interested, and so on and so on, so forth. But when you're doing and following this, I mean, this is like a nugget for me. You just got the gold at the end of the rainbow for me, Chad. And I guess there's always things that I've been called a know-it-all before, but well, I guess I don't know everything.
Here's the deal.
But what is your favorite place? What's your last word, Chad?
My last word?
No, you got to tell me what your favorite vacation spot is, or one that was the most memorable, or one of the most memorable right here in Kansas.
Okay, so we're going to go with the place that taught me to never underestimate what you might see. And to understand that you never know what's really going to pique your interest. You just don't.
Oh, you're teasing.
So that place, and I don't even know if it's still open yet or not. I'd have to check. Is the Independent Museum of Telephony in Abilene, Kansas. I walked in there, and I don't even know why I did it, but I think it was kind of one of those things. It's like, well, it's here. And seriously, somebody has a museum that's about telephones, just telephones. I mean, pure curiosity says, really?
I gotta see that.
Okay. And I got in there, and I think admission on that particular day was like $3, and I was like, there's no way this is going to be worth $3, but okay.
It turned out to be the best $3 you ever spent.
The person I was with on that day was like, Chad, come on, we really need to get going. We really need to get home. I'm like, no, we don't.
Are we really going to a telephone museum?
No, we don't. No, we don't. You see, this is how the switchboards used to work. What is wrong with you, Chad? You know, I mean,
I love it.
That was and that would be coupled with the other spot that I really loved when I went, and that was the Greyhound Museum and Hall of Fame.
That'd be cool.
That was super cool. Again, it's not in conversation. It's like you went there, yeah, and it was cool. So there's that.
Very cool.
And that's probably my last word too. My last word is don't discount something before you actually go do it, or before you actually experience it, or before you've read it, or just don't discount it. Don't dismiss it. You've got to before you try and dismiss something, you really need to try and experience part of it yourself.
Because not everybody's tastes are the same, huh? Yeah.
And
don't knock it till you try it, type of thing.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave it there because I mean I can easily go to the political realm.
Yeah, we're not doing
with
that
with that statement. Yeah. But bottom line, until you have experienced at least a piece of something, don't discount it, don't discredit it, don't downplay it, because you really you need to at least have a little bit of experience on it yourself. So there you go.
Well, thank you, Chad. Thank you once again for always coming out here and discussing all things local and abroad with myself. And I appreciate everything you do. Tell everybody once again, subscribe to the Kansan. You can do it digitally or you can do it in paper. So have a good week, everybody. We'll catch you next week.